Now back to the show. This is The Law Show on CL 650.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need
Yeah, it is The Law Show. I'm Zach Spencer here on CL 650. We're talking about relationships, the breakdown of a relationship, and family law. And we have David Halkett, partner at McQuarrieHunter, and Sarah Morse from McQuarrieHunter in Surrey. And we're talking about pensions and how you divide those assets up. Now, okay, so I'll give you an example. Say somebody is getting married and they're 40. Right, and they've contributed for 20 years into their pension. They started working maybe when they're 20 years old. So how does it get divided? Because you've got 20 years where it was yours, and then you maybe were married for 20 years, and now you're 60. So how does that work?
Yeah, the 20 years that you weren't together don't count for division. How they divide the pension is you get half of the credits that were earned during the time you were together. So from the day you started living together to the date of separation, etc. So it's a formula they have that you get 1/2 of the years you were together divided by the total length of the pension that you were contributing. So if you contribute 35 years, you were together for 15 with the one spouse, they would get half of 15 over 35.
But you could argue also that because I supported you and helped you go back to school, take classes so you could gain more money. Like as you said, you get paid on the best years.
Yep.
Because of my help, that you were able to get a higher income, and that affects your
it does,
pension.
but what would happen though is in that case, say it's the wife is getting the half of the 15 years, say. She gets her portion, whatever percentage they determine that to be, whether it be 15, 20%, of the actual pension amount he receives. So if he's getting the benefit of his best 5 years, she gets the benefit of that
as well. Yeah. So it's a trickle-down effect.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons that I often will recommend to my clients not to let themselves be bought out of the pension, because down the road the person's income is going to be higher, and normally anyway.
Right.
And your income stream will be higher just simply by not having been bought out.
All right. And Sarah, do you find that with gender lines, it is mine versus men versus women, like this is my pension and you're not going to get it? Do you find that? We talked about it, but women like the security factor.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with what David said earlier about I do find that the women tend to have more of a long-term view, and they want the nest egg. They're more concerned with making sure they're set years down the road. So it's definitely something that they would want to hang on to more. Or at least that's what I've seen as well. So I would echo David's sentiments on that.
Any clients who've doubled down on this and divided their pension a few times?
Oh, yeah. I had one where because I got his notice as to what his pension was worth, and I thought this seems a lot lower than it should be. And then he told me, I already divided with one wife, because he brought his form in the first day, and I didn't know his history. So, yeah, you can divide your pension 2-3 times if you end up being married 3 times. And so at the end of the day, you're not getting very much of your own pension.
Yeah. And, there's the old thing is like, how long are you going to live?
Yeah.
Right? Say you live to 70 and you're only collecting your pension for 5 years, right? Versus, having the money here and now. Like, do you have that conversation with clients?
Well, we will. Just so they know all the various options. There's always a risk of, someone dying early, right? And so is it better to transfer the money over now, etc.? But, lifespans are getting longer. Unless I know there's a real health reason for the person may not live past a certain time, normally they will keep their pension.
Okay, now the pension, you say you're going to split it. So is it still the defined benefit? Like, are you just getting that pension as a check every month when you turn 65, or can you get a lump sum?
Well,
because what I'm getting at is you take that lump sum and then invest it yourself and top up your RSPs and your tax-free savings accounts and all that kind of stuff. So at what point do you, obviously then you bring in the attorneys in your office that work with tax and say, what can we do, right?
Yeah, or we'll send them off to a financial planner, because what happens is the pension office will often send the new limited member information as to what they can do with their amount. They can keep it and get their money at 55, or when the other spouse is eligible to retire, or they may say, we can transfer X dollars to an RSP of your choice, but it's usually a locked-in vehicle. They can't take the money, so they're kind of stuck with that. And then they can start.
But for
getting
some people, that's a good thing. They can't
Exactly.
touch it. Because
Exactly.
it'll burn a hole in their pocket, right?
Well, that's true. And so, but they're given the option, and usually because Sarah and I aren't financial planners, we will send them off to a financial planner or take that and determine what you want to do with it.
But you've seen that, where somebody will take the cash and say, well, I can invest it myself.
Exactly, yeah. Then they can put it into a locked-in vehicle that can be any RSP or whatever for themselves.
Now, have you had a situation where you've had a pension, and we've seen this with Nortel, I think with CanWest, these businesses that went under, and they had huge pension obligations that they didn't meet, and these poor Northern Telecom people are getting pennies on the dollar. So is that just hard luck? Does the person that you're splitting the pension with, it's hard luck for them too?
Yeah, well, it's never been in one of my pensions in my files. We never had one of those incidents. But yeah, if you have like some of those airline pensions that went under, whatever, it's like that's just the luck you
life.
take.
Yeah.
If you decide to buy the other one out of your pension and your asset slides to nothing, that's kind of on you. It's like the person buys the house. If all of a sudden the house is burned down and there's no insurance, so be it.
All right. So what about somebody comes into your office and they're 60 and they're just years away from retiring? Is that different versus someone who's 40, or is it pretty much the same thing?
The law is the same. They may just their pension's going to be higher and worth more to divide. But no, the law will apply the same whether or not, as long as the person hasn't retired yet.
And what about if so often in relationships, the man is older and the wife is younger, especially second wives.
Yep.
Isn't that true, Sarah?
I'll keep you posted on that one.
No, not you personally, in your practice. So say he's 65 or 67 and she's 63, what happens there?
Well, if he's receiving his pension, obviously what's been already received is not divisible. They will divide what's left. And there's certain rules that, again, you do in the order that it's just going to be divided as per the Act, Family Law Act, and the administrative office of the pension will just simply divide how it's supposed to be divided. If the person's receiving it, it just decreases the value of the pension, obviously.
And what are they called? Is it the TIF or something when your RSPs roll over at a certain age? You've got to start
RIF.
RIF, not TIF.
Yep.
RIF, where you've got to start paying out. So someone who's at that age now and is receiving that income, is that asset just liquidated and divided, or can you just get a portion of that?
No, what you would do is if the person had already had to transfer his RSP to a RIF, you would simply do the rollover with a RIF, and you transfer that amount over to the other party.
And then you speak to a financial planner
exactly
about
what to do with it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about how you divide the pension when you're about to retire. When you're just about to retire and you're getting a separation, what's the difference legally between a separation and a divorce? Like, where does the line draw there?
Well, there is no such thing really as a legal
No,
separation, which
there
is probably one of the biggest understandings out there. You can make your separation legal by getting a separation agreement. A divorce is really, for us, it's the paper at the end of the process.
And the actual marriage.
Yeah.
That's dissolving the marriage.
Yeah.
But so what? Why do people have this misconception?
I don't know. I don't know if it comes from sort of law in the
TV.
States and TV.
They talk about I'm legally separated, whereas we just have you're separated, or you have a legal document that in effect sets out how you're going to divide things, or you don't.
Okay, so in that situation, once you have that document, then you start working on the process of the pension.
Yeah, because you usually can't divide a pension unless you have a divorce order that divides it, so an order from court or a separation agreement. The pension offices will not divide it. You can let them know that you have a claim against the pension, so they won't let the actual pension owner liquidate it, transfer it, whatever, or name someone else as their beneficiary, so to speak.
Because I know somebody who's been separated and has never gone through the final act of physically divorcing. Where do they stand?
Well, it depends. If they have a separation agreement, then they're just bound by the terms of it. If they don't, then the assets, whatever the value is increasing, is still to be divided. Although the pension usually stops the increase in value as of the date of separation.
So it backdated to then.
Yeah.
So even if years went by and you went and finalized all of this stuff, they would just say, okay, well, you broke up or you separated and it was this date.
Exactly.
And we'll do it from that date.
For the pension,
because that's a separation agreement.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. All right. Good to know. All right, we're talking about the breakdown of relationships and family laws. It relates to money, which is always so important, and pensions. And joining us today, we have David Halkett, partner at McQuarrieHunter, Sarah Morse, an associate at McQuarrieHunter, right in Surrey Central in downtown Surrey. Great geographic location for everybody to find you. Now, how do people find you? Is it the website? Is it
Macquarie.com, and then they just have to simply go and check for the lawyers. Or we also have there's a business aspect and there's individual aspect clients, and so they can find and they just link through to the lawyers.
And just send you an email.
Yep.
And start the relationship there.
Exactly.
Right? All right, we're going to pick up more about this, your finances and how it relates to you around pensions when we continue on The Law Show next on CL 650.
There's more of the show still ahead. This is The Law Show on CL 650.